During his debate with William Lane Craig in October 2011 on the topic, Does God Exist?, Stephen Law presented the issue of animal suffering all throughout the history of Earth within the problem of evil. As a part of his reply, Craig said the following.
Now let me say one other thing, however, that is a result of recent scientific discoveries that shed remarkable light on the problem of animal suffering. In his book, Nature Read in Tooth and Claw, published by Oxford University Press, Michael Murray explains that there is really a threefold hierarchy of pain awareness. On the most fundamental level, there is simply the reaction to stimuli, such as an amoeba exhibits when you poke it with a needle. It doesn't really feel pain. There's a second level of pain awareness, which sentient animals have, which is an experience of pain. And animals like horses, dogs, and cats would experience this second level pain awareness. But they do not experience a third level pain awareness, which is the awareness of second order pain. That is the awareness that one is himself in pain. For that sort of pain awareness requires self-awareness. And this is centered in the prefrontal cortex of the brain, a section of the brain that is missing in all animals except for the higher primates and human beings. And therefore, even though animals are in pain, they aren't aware of it. They don't have this third order pain awareness. They are not aware of pain, and therefore they do not suffer as human beings do. Now, this is a tremendous comfort to those of us who are animal lovers like myself, or to pet owners. Even though your dog or your cat may be in pain, it really isn't aware of being in pain, and therefore it doesn't suffer as you would when you are in pain.
About 1 year later, a YouTube channel named Skydivephil replied to Craig's assertions with a 30 minutes long video. Craig responded to it with a podcast on his own website, reasonablefaith.org. Let's analyze some of the statements he made.
The video was put together by someone named Skydivephil. Can Animals Suffer? Debunking the philosophers who say no, from Descartes to Craig.
And immediately you see in the title a misrepresentation of the position that Michael Murray is defending. No one has said animals cannot suffer.
What are the
so
issues here?
the question would be answered, yes, of course they suffer. The issue here is what kind of suffering animal suffering is, or pain.
Now, the book where Michael Murray presented the argument that Craig used is called Nature Read in Tooth and Claw, Theism and the Problem of Animal Suffering, which can be freely read online. In the chapter where the aforementioned argument is illustrated, Michael Murray writes, quote, even if an animal has higher order access to a first order state of pain, it would lack any moral disvalue if the animal did not find the state to be undesirable. Such a mental state might bear some similarity to the conscious experience of persons with a damaged or absent prefrontal cortex. Individuals who have undergone a prefrontal lobotomy, for example, sometimes report an awareness of familiar pains, but paradoxically insist that they no longer find the pain to be undesirable or unpleasant. They claim the pain feels the same, even though it no longer bothers them. As a result, creatures of this sort have first-order pain states and second-order awareness of them. But because they lack the capacity to regard those states as undesirable, such creatures do not suffer because of their pain. End quote. Hence, Skydivephil is not guilty of misrepresentation. Let's proceed listening to the rest of Craig's podcast.
Or when she says, for example, that the view that we're defending is that animals have no awareness of pain. That's not correct. The question is, do they have this third level order of pain awareness, not the second level order pain awareness.
Let's listen once again at what Craig said during his debate with Law.
And therefore, even though animals are in pain, they aren't aware of it. They don't have this third order pain awareness. They are not aware of pain. They are not aware of pain. They are not aware of pain.
As you can hear, William Lane Craig used the same expression of the makers of the video he's responding to. Why is it that now such a terminology appears so inadequate to him? Granted, used on its own without context, the expression would lead to misunderstandings, but the video by Skydivephil showed Craig's representation of the 3 stages of awareness of pain in its entirety. So what is the problem? Craig then says the following.
Or again, the Emory researcher said that the pain receptors are very low-level devices that are found throughout the animal kingdom, and she says every animal therefore feels pain, and they went into the discussion of fish, and again, that's not the question. The question isn't whether animals have pain receptors. The question is whether or not there is this capacity to think about oneself as oneself, first-person awareness. Do animals have this kind of first-person awareness?
Craig gives the impression that the Emory researcher, Dr. Marino, didn't get the issue at hand, but after speaking about the presence of pain receptors in animals, she did give her opinion about this third level of pain awareness.
So everyone's got brain systems that are intimately involved in detecting pain, and those systems are shared across all vertebrates. What this person seems to be talking about is some sort of thesis that if you don't have some sort of metacognition or self-awareness, you can't think about your own pain and therefore you're not in pain. But there's no evidence for that. And in fact, all the behavioral.
After this, Craig made sure to misrepresent even the position of a fellow apologist, Michael Murray.
They call this view from Michael Murray neo-Cartesian. Is that what it is?
No, that again is a misrepresentation. Descartes' view was that animals are essentially machines who have no pain awareness of any sort, not even second-order pain awareness. When a dog or a cat is shrieking in pain, Descartes thought this was just like a machine squeaking, like a squeaky hinge or a rusty bolt squeaking, but it wasn't really pain at all. And Murray's view, or the view that he's examining, isn't neo-Cartesian at all. It's saying, yes, animals have pain awareness, but they don't have perhaps that third level pain awareness that I am myself in pain.
Notice what Craig has done. He explained what Cartesianism says about animal suffering and used that as evidence to show that Murray's position is not a neo-Cartesianist one. Of course, the neo that stands in neo-Cartesianism implies a difference from the original Cartesianist position, and if one looks at the book by Murray, he will immediately notice that the chapter where Murray presents his argument is called Neo-Cartesianism. In it, Murray writes, quote, "Central to Neo-Cartesian explanations is the idea that non-human creatures, even if sentient, lack some human characteristic essential to conscious suffering." End quote. He also explains, quote, "Classical Cartesian theodicy founders on the implausibility of the thesis that animals are unconscious automata, yet contemporary philosophical discussions of consciousness agree on at least this: there are many different notions of consciousness, so it is open to the neo-Cartesian to affirm that animals are conscious in an ordinary sense of conscious, while denying they are conscious in yet another ordinary sense of the term." With this explanation, it becomes clear that Murray's argument is a neo-Cartesianist one. Let's proceed with Craig's podcast.
Part of Murray's research is that he says there could be something here, the reason that animals, the lower animals, and by the way, nobody's ever said that only humans have this capacity. I mean, Murray himself points out that there are higher primates that would have a developed prefrontal cortex and so on. The video did keep going to, is it true that only humans have this? Well, nobody ever said that only humans have it. So that's one thing.
Of course, Skydivephil did not ask the experts they were interviewing whether only humans have a prefrontal cortex. One need only watch the video to quickly verify this. Now, there was one expert that started talking about how it is not true that only humans have a prefrontal cortex, but the interviewer quickly redirected the conversation the right way.
And as to this idea about only humans possessing frontal cortex, well, that's just ludicrous. I mean, we know other primates have frontal cortex because we do work on it. You know, so people actually.
And what about non-primates, the rats and mice?
Yeah, of course they have. It's a degree of cortex, is presumably where the misconception is.
So, Anita, is it true that only primates have a prefrontal cortex?
Well, no, that's certainly not true.
Well, it really isn't true that primates are the only ones with a prefrontal cortex. All mammals have a cortex. All mammals have a neocortex.
To sum up, Craig has equivocated the use of some terms to give the impression the video makers were sloppy in their language, misrepresented Michael Murray's position, and distorted the statements made in the video to which he was responding. Overall, this is a showcase of severe dishonesty by his part. That will be all. See you next time.